Hello, awesome people. I hope your day's going as well as you are. Today we're taking a look at the short story by Shirley Jackson called Jack the Ripper, which is Shirley Jackson's take on the Jack the Ripper story. It's about 5 pages long. Last night, it didn't even take me like 10 minutes for me to knock it out. So it was pretty good. I knocked it out yesterday for the first time. Pretty good while I was in an Uber on my way to a movie, so I saw it pretty quickly, and I really enjoyed it. So now we're going to take a look at this short story and what Shirley Jackson's take is. Now, I got this book, its next short story, from the Dark Tales collection by Penguin Classics, which we've been doing a deep dive into. I'll link you to this 2017 collection in the comments below. I picked it up a couple months ago. I was interested in doing a deeper dive into the beloved Shirley Jackson. I had read 2 of her works prior to this, a short story called The Lottery, which everybody's read, which I would give a 10 out of 10 to, although I haven't rated it for this channel. And then a book I knocked out a couple of years ago for this channel called The Haunting of Hill House, which is her seminal work, which was on my bucket list. And I knocked it out for spring break during my vacation. So I thought that was pretty fun too, and I enjoyed it. And I don't remember any 100%, but I think I gave it an 8 out of 10. It would have made sense. It's a classic work and absolutely strong. So I love both of these works. So I wanted to do a deeper dive. I also wanted to get back into horror for a little bit. I've been doing a lot of deeper dives into fantasy and science fiction, and my horror part's been missing. As a reminder, this channel does reviews of science fiction, horror, and fantasy works for folks. I've been doing a lot of fantasy, a lot of science fictions stuff recently, and so I wanted to get back and just getting back to a classic horror. And Shirley Jackson is beloved, one of the most influential, best American horrors of all time. If you were to put her on your top 10 list of American horror authors of all time, obviously it would have Stephen King, H.P. Lovecraft, Edgar Allan Poe, and I think Shirley Jackson would be on your top 10 too, unquestionably. I think those would be like a big 4. If you were to do a Mount Rushmore, the best 4 horror writers of all time, the most influential, the most read, the most beloved during their times, I think those probably would be the big 4 on your Mount Rushmore. At least it would be on mine. But those, and if you didn't have them in your top 4, obviously I think you probably would want to put those in your top 10 if you've read their stuff. So taking a deep dive into this collection. Now, here's the issue with this collection. Some of the short stories in this Dark Tales collection are not horror. There's a couple of them that are psychological dramas where, somebody goes through a change or learns some more about themselves, or there's some deeper, darker things that are happening underneath the surface, that sort of thing. I think there's 3 of them that we've read so far that are psychological dramas. And then this one definitely is a horror story, though. It is the 5-page quick fiction take on who Jack the Ripper is, what Shirley Jackson's interpretation of the Jack the Ripper mythos is. Jack the Ripper is obviously a key figure in, horror, right? So that's obviously and murder mysteries and that sort of a thing. And he regularly will appear in other works. With different images of him. For example, he shows up in Babylon 5 hundreds of years in the future when one of the aliens races went back and grabbed him from Earth so that he could become an inquisitor for them. That sort of thing happens, right? Jack the Ripper just shows up all over the place in other media. That's how influential he was, right? And so having a Jack the Ripper interpretation, although it's pretty quick read, definitely was something I'd really enjoyed the opportunity to do. I'm giving this a 7 plus, like a 7.2 or 7.4 out of 10. I'm running it down to a 7 proper, but it's a strong 7. It's a lot of fun stuff. In this interpretation, and I keep my reviews spoiler free, but the basic idea is that Jack the Ripper is definitely Jack the Ripper. And so forth. Then you'll learn some sort of interpretations by Shirley Jackson on the last page. On the first page, Jack the Ripper is coming across a woman who's unconscious on the our point of view character, coming across a woman who has an unconscious person that needs to be taken care of, right? So that's what's happening. I also like, that's what we're going to find out. And outside of a bar, so he goes into the bar on the first page and is requesting help. The bartender saying, "Call the mayor. I'm not interested." And mayor's number's in the phone book. And they have a conversation for a little bit, and then ultimately action happens, and that's it. So that's the story in a nutshell. So anyway, as you can see, there's a lot of fun things that are happening in this short story, short story. It's pretty short. It's almost like flash fiction, if you will. It's only a few pages long. But I didn't enjoy what's happening. So you're definitely going to want to do a deeper dive into Shirley Jackson. Now, I have done reviews of the short stories in this collection that are horror because it's Shirley Jackson, right? I've done that with other characters. For example, Robert E. Howard is one of the most influential characters in the fantasy genre of all time. He also does a lot of horror. And I did some boxing short stories by him. Nobody pushed back and said, "Hey, what are you doing? This is boxing stuff. It's not part of your normal thing." Also, there's a short story called Blue Flame Adventure, which I reviewed as a part of the Solomon Kane series, which is a fantasy series with more horror aspects, but that short story has none of those. That's also written by Robert E. Howard, who also created the Conan stuff. So, and also similarly, Stephen King, who another big iconic horror writer, right, has also written some novels that are horror. I don't think anybody would push back if I did a review of them, because that's Stephen King. Again, he's one of the most influential and beloved horror writers of the American side of things of all time, right? I don't think there'd be any pushback from that, right? So I think the same thing's true with Shirley Jackson, right? She's an iconic horror writer, so therefore people know her. And so I think that taking some stories that people might not know and doing them as a review is pretty fun. So there we are. And now we're looking at Jack the Ripper. Have you read it? What'd you think of it? Would I talk about the spoilers, which I didn't talk about? Or the last page and the nice ending? If so, I would be more than happy to engage you with it further in the comments below, whatever your opinion is. If you like this video, why not hit that subscribe button? There's going to be a lot more of these to follow. And then finally, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video. We all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. Thanks again, and have an amazing day.